Everyone. Hello and welcome to Live Coding Happy Hour. It is December 20th, 2019. I'm Andrew Barnes, and we're going to get right into introductions. So we've got a wonderful guest today. So why don't you introduce yourself, sir?
Sure. My name is Goran Lundqvist, aka the Witch Doctor. Working at ServiceNow as an internal developer with the instance, just like you guys out there, building stuff for ServiceNow themselves to utilize and automate. That's the quick one. I don't know. Should I tell more?
Yeah, tell us. I mean, it's your first time on the show. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, I started out in 2014 as a customer for ServiceNow. We're a customer for around 2 years. Then I went over to a partner for about 2 years, and then I ended up here. And before my ServiceNow life, I've been pretty much to every role we got in the service, or not the service now, the IT business, from sitting in the service desk, taking the tough calls, to being the third line technical manager, been a lot around IT processes and stuff like that, and then fell in love with ServiceNow in 2014. I love the community, of course, trying to help out as much as I can. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm from Sweden, so I'm kind of shy.
All right. Well, I'm Andrew Barnes, developer advocate at ServiceNow. A little bit over a year in this role. Been in the ecosystem, like our wonderful guest here, for about 5 years now, a little bit over, and been doing enterprise architecture, managing development teams, specialize in integrations and the deployment process in ServiceNow. We're in the developer program here at ServiceNow, which is how you get all of those wonderful instances from developer.servicenow.com, the APIs, the documentation there, the share, and our blog, as well as this YouTube, all flows through that developer site, which is our lovely home for ServiceNow developers. So what do you have for us to drink today? What did you bring? What's interesting?
I went
Introduce
to the
your
liquor
drink.
store. Yeah, let's see. I got something called snöfall in Swedish. I guess it means like snowfall. I've never drank it before. It's gingerish brown ale. So I have no clue how that you. I bet you can't get this out of Sweden. I have to send you some in that case.
That'll be fun. Let's see. I have a from Anchor Brewing, a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year beer.
Yeah.
So I actually don't know its style yet. It just says special ale. So we're gonna try it out and see.
Yeah. Do you like yours?
Oh, that's nice. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us about what we're going to do today. So you are driving the show. You're going to be doing some development work, and
Yeah.
I have no idea what we're going to do. I know you told me, but I forgot. So
yeah,
it's new. Well, it's new to me too.
Perfect, because it's tricky. Basically, we're going to try and use the inbound mail action flow. And what we are looking at is that we will have an incoming email that doesn't have a watermark, but it has an attachment. We want, and the only clue we got is that in the header, we have the number, for example, incident 005 or something like that. So we know that. So we can take that to find the record. Then we want to move the record or copy the attachment over to that record. And that record can already have multiple attachments. So, but we want to send out the notification to certain people that are, in this case, on the watch list, and let's say they're assigned to. Because I won't be working in the production, so I can't really have the correct fields. But we want to send a notification to those people with that specific attachment. And we will try to use
just that attachment, or all of the attachments from the record? Just that attachment.
Exactly. So we need to know which attachment to send as well.
Okay. So we've got a two-step process here, right? So we've got to process an inbound email and add an attachment to an existing record. And then separately, we have upon attachment, of uh, upon placing an attachment on the record, send a notification. So
Yeah,
is it quite that simple, or is it should I send that notification only when it was coming from an inbound email, or can
we
I
only exactly.
abstract that?
We only want to do it when it comes from this specific email. So I'm thinking of building one flow that does it all.
Okay, so I need
Um,
to. So it's not a generic notification. It's very
no,
specific to this use case
exactly.
of if this
And
inbound email flow happens, then send a notification to the
exactly.
affected people. Okay,
Yeah,
that's a very good distinction to know, though, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
if they were completely abstracted separately, then we would just have two problems. But
yeah,
we have one problem, so it can be just
exactly.
one flow. Well, cool.
Yeah.
So
So
if you're not familiar with it, inbound actions have been in the platform for a really long time. Oh, you have a visitor. Hello,
yeah,
visitor. um, Inbound actions have been available for a long time. With the New York family release, we added the ability for inbound action triggers in Flow Designer, and to be able to empower more than just developers to build these. Because with the inbound actions, those were just pure scripting. They
yeah,
added some light logic eventually to it, but basically it was just scripting to get to that level and a full admin account. And this is allowing for delegated developers and some more low code tooling with Flow Designer to do this. So
yeah.
let's share your screen and let's get started.
Yeah, let's see. I'm going to try to share my Google Chrome, I guess, because I have one of those wide screens, so I think they won't look good on on your screen. Is this good enough?
Let me check the feed real quick. Yeah, that looks fine.
Yeah, perfect. So the first thing we want to do is go into the flow designer, I guess. And in our case, since we are actually building it for the incident table, just as an example, I guess we just use the global scope to do it. So let's just hit new flow, and we'll call this live code happy hour. And one thing to think about is that when you do these inbound things, this one doesn't really work. It will always run as the user that sends the email. So even if I specify system user here, it will not run with those credentials. It will use the user whoever sends in the email. And if it's not a user, it's the guest user.
Yeah, and that's a very, very important differentiation there you're making there.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to get that UI adjusted a bit to not have that option when it actually doesn't do anything, like in this case.
Yeah,
So
it kind of messes up stuff because if you want to just do a lookup in another table just to see where you want to do stuff, if that user don't have access to that table, your flow will not work. So, but
correct.
anyway, we'll have a trigger and we have the inbound email at the bottom, just below service catalog. And now, I guess we don't need to focus so much on the conditions. I'll basically just say that the subject starts with bad Santa, for example, since it's soon Christmas. We can, of course, make it a little bit better and just add the type, since we knew that this one is new, it's not a reply.
Okay.
Let's see, it's receive type. Yeah, new. Just basically put in these ones. So,
Yeah, and one thing to note there, can you open up the trigger for me again? Um, don't select reply record type if you're trying to process new emails.
yeah,
So it might feel like you want to go put your target table there. Don't do it.
because then it will try to force it. And this is
What
good if you're
then?
doing
Then
for,
it's only going to process replies.
yeah, exactly. Good to know when you look at this one as well is that you don't have visible the order or the stop processing. It can be visible through a property, but basically, as I understand it, the idea is that you should build conditions that are unique, so you shouldn't need order to
Right,
be able
because
to do that.
adding ordering and stop processing is actually more complex, right? And we're trying
Yeah,
to so
make
while
it
the
simple.
options are possible, you
Yeah,
do want to focus in on just unique conditions so
yeah,
that you don't have to add the complexity of order unless you need it.
exactly. And default, it stop processing. So if this flow triggers, it won't run anything else.
Yep.
Uh, and the flows run before the old inbound actions you talked about earlier. So if this one triggers, it won't even go through those.
That's absolutely the case. So
Yeah,
yeah, they do run higher order. So all flow processing for inbound actions happens before the traditional table of inbound action processes. So that is
yeah,
that is good to note. And so if you match, like you said, one of those triggers there, the default is stop processing, and so it will not ever get to any of your table based inbound actions that were scripts.
yeah, exactly.
Good. So
So, yeah,
do
go
we
ahead.
need to check for whether or not it has an attachment? And is
You
that something
probably,
we want to check for?
I don't think you can check for that in the trigger. I never thought of that.
Because our whole goal of
Yeah,
this flow here is to
yeah,
deal with the attachment. So
exactly. I think we need to do that in the flow itself. I don't think these conditions
okay.
actually have something to you can
Yeah,
do
I,
that.
I, I did. I didn't know if there was or not. So
Yeah,
that's new to me, but it was something that popped in my head because we
yeah,
want very unique scenario in not having a attachment when we want to do attachment stuff would be a scenario I want to
correct.
do something different in. So
Yeah,
we
exactly.
might need to do logic checking in our flow.
Yeah,
Um, Even if we do trigger off one that doesn't have it, we might need to have branching logic that does
Ex-
something different.
exactly. And in my case, of course there can be something wrong, so it doesn't get attached. But the bad part is here that if you have two scenarios, one where you want to do something if there's attachment, and one with an attachment or not, then you need to build that in one flow, because then this flow will trigger, and the other one won't. So we still need to
Right.
do both scenarios in this one.
So that might be one of those cases where you would want to not stop the processing, right? So that
Yeah,
is that added complexity. So we're going to try and do it in a singular flow. But if we
yeah,
hit a wall that it doesn't make sense or logically it shouldn't, then we could add that property in, tell it not to stop processing
yeah.
on the first one, which would then check that attachment or not and route us
Yeah.
appropriately.
Yeah, and we can actually have different orders. So we have this one first and doesn't have stop processing. And then the second one with the
Does.
higher
Yep.
order does. So it won't go further down. So we're down with the conditions. So the first thing I guess we want to do is find out what record are we going to attach it to? Which record does this email belong to?
Right.
And the only thing we know is that it will have a subject that contains the number of the incident. Uh, and I don't know what you have, Andrew. I really suck at regex, but for me, this is the place I probably want to do to find. I don't know. In some condition builders, you actually have a pattern and you can write in the pattern, but I haven't found that in the flow designer yet. Do
No,
you
I
have
don't
a
think that doesn't exist. I don't think that exists in Flow Designer at the
Mm.
moment.
No, so basically from my earlier stuff, and I have to admit, I'm not a regex expert. I normally go through Chuck's videos and regex one-on-one every time I need to do it. But
There's nothing wrong with going to Regex 101.
uh,
Seeing something in an interactive user interface is handy. So I've
so
forgotten a bunch of Regex
yeah, and
and
my
relearned
my
it, 40 times.
yeah, exactly. So my biggest issue when I built this custom action was that if you write code, you can write the pattern without the quotation, and then the code knows that this is regex we're going to do. But the input to this action will end up as a string. So basically, I have two things. What am I going to look in, and what's the pattern I'm looking for?
And so this is an action that you've already pre-created.
Yeah, because I've used this in other places as well to try to figure it out.
Reusing actions is good.
Yeah. And basically, this one will only work if you're only looking for one
instance
match.
of a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, it just takes those two, and then I found out if I use this functionality, then I can actually throw in the pattern as a string.
Yep.
And I have two outputs, one true or false. Do we find something? And then, of course, what did we find?
Right. That seems very useful. That seems like a very useful action. Yeah. You gonna throw that up on share for us?
Yeah, I'll try to remember that. I'll see if it's good enough, I guess. I would like to do it. It
looked good enough.
Yeah, I'll throw it up and try to learn how to do that, I guess. So basically, we would like to we have the data out here, and we can take the subject, and then the pattern we're looking for, I guess, should be incident. And then we want 7 digits. Let's see if I can find the backslash on my keyboard.
Oh, is that tricky on your
That's the wrong one.
Language
it should be the other way. I suck at Mac keyboard still. Come on, where is the... And the one thing I found out is that you don't actually get it if you take out the keyboard either. That keyboard shower. This is getting embarrassing. There we go. No, was that the right one? Which one is it? Digits? Is it like that, or is it like the first one?
It should be top left to bottom right /
top left. So like that.
The first one, yes.
And then we want to have 7 digits. So this one should match a normal incident, right? That's 7 digits.
Incident 7 digits. Sure.
Yeah. So we got that. So I guess we would like to do a check. Do we actually can we find a record that matches that number before we do anything else? So it's not a mismatch or something like that. And then we can use the regex true or false, I guess. So if that one is true, well, first, if we find how to say incident number. So now we know if we
you're going to base this off of your handy dandy true false. Is it a match?
Exactly. Did we find something in the subject that matches our pattern? Yeah. Then, of course, we need to do a new check. Should we do that before this one? Or, I mean, we need to see, is this a real incident number or not?
Yeah, so if match, yes, then look up that record to see if it exists. Yeah.
Exactly.
That seems like the correct order.
And we'll...
Because I wouldn't want to do a lookup if there wasn't a match.
Exactly. And do we need to use the lookup records? How will this one return if it doesn't?
So lookup record will... So do you want to do anything in your flow if you don't find a match?
I guess I probably would like to create an incident that we have this email that should belong to, and
because if you want to do anything after failing, you need to use lookup records.
And then
because lookup record, if it doesn't find anything, it actually returns an error and stops your flow.
Oh, okay. I actually just checked, okay, did I only get 1 or 0 from the counter? But okay, so if I don't find anything with lookup records, it will actually stop the flow.
With lookup record, it will stop the flow.
Record.
With
Okay, lookup record.
records, it can return 0 and it's still fine.
Yeah.
But lookup record errors out if you don't find an exact match.
So let's go for this one, for that makes more sense, because otherwise we need to monitor flows that has been errored to see if we find email had come in that we don't find a match. Let's take a look at this one. So lookup records, table, incident, and conditions, number
is,
string found. So
bam, yeah.
And I guess we only need to find 1. So if we find 1, we don't need to continue looking.
Yeah, there. Hopefully, in whatever your instance you're working in, number is
unique.
Is unique.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad things happen if it's not.
Yeah, so we got that one, and this is the. So now we can either do another lookup. I guess we need to do a if here first. If count is greater than 0. So if you find something, then we want to continue. So if we find
it looks like we might have Chuck join in just a second. He misunderstood the time. He thought we were at our regularly scheduled time, which is nice to be at your regularly scheduled time, but we were trying to accommodate so it wasn't too late in your night.
Yeah. So let's see. If we find an incident now, we could. I guess we have 2 ways to go. Either we can loop through these ones because we have the record in here, even if it's just 1, or we do another lookup for that. Use the lookup record instead, right?
So what you're going to need for most of the other actions is a record entry. And so even though you're getting only 1, you're going to want to use a for each here.
Yeah, exactly. I can either use for each, or I can do a new lookup record, because now I know that finds one, but we already have it in here. So
we already have it. So I'd lean towards for each at this moment.
Yeah.
And we'll pause for just a second and catch Chuck up.
Yeah.
Chuck, you're on mute, but you are here. Hello, sir. Can you hear us?
Chuck.
I can hear you. Sorry. For whatever reason, this is the only Zoom meeting I join where I default to mute.
No problem. Well, welcome, sir.
Thank you.
A super frequent guest, Chuck Tomasi, has joined us. We are building a inbound action processing flow today, where we're going to take some attachments from an inbound email, attach them to a record, and then we're also going to send a notification with that attachment, and only that attachment from the email, back out to some people from that record.
And
so
have you been testing as you built this up?
No, we just started building about 5 minutes ago, and we haven't started testing yet.
I made an attempt on inbound emails a couple of months ago, and I learned something that may affect your architecture, which is why I really, really wanted to join this one. And being late, I had the time zone thing off. I just got back from California.
Well, we're glad to have you. What do you have interesting to share?
Is when you try this, it's going to say the requested flow operation was prohibited by security rules. And the answer I got back from one of our product managers is the way the flow trigger works is that it executes the flow as the sender of the email.
Right.
Which could be guessed if it can't figure out who the sender is from the email address. I had an IFTTT thing triggering mine, or something that was not in sysuser that was saying, "Hey, go run this." And because
we covered that right at the start.
Oh, okay, good.
But that's awesome
because
that's a huge important thing to know.
Yeah, it is an important thing to realize because the ACLs are really restrictive on sys email table, and there's a good chance the sender won't have rights to touch the sys email table. So the way you deal with this, if you were doing something like my situation, which I haven't redone because I've been on the road, is to drop it into a subflow running as system.
And then if we find one, now we're at let's fetch that record, because that's the record we need to have to attach the attachment, I guess.
This is still way easier than inbound email scripts.
Yeah. So there we go, and that's the only thing we need. So now we have the incident as well.
Angry.
What's angry?
The where I'm broadcasting from.
Oh.
So give me y'all go on without me. I'll fix it.
Okay. So basically now we would like to, I guess we want to move the record. There isn't any reason for keeping that in the sys table, right? Or the sys email record. And we have, these are new for New York, right? Shock.
Which things are new for you?
New York? The move we have move.
Yes, the those are new for New York because they were based around the attachment functionality.
Let's just
or the inbound action triggering functionality.
So basically, I guess we can, since we know there's only one, this one seems simpler, right? Or should we use the move attachment?
I would take the second one since it's plural.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the singular one does.
I think you need to specify which attachment you want to move. So you need to have like the sysID of the attachment or something like that.
Okay.
So basically, we want to have the email record and we have
target record.
Target record.
Wow, that's
nice.
Easy enough.
Yeah, it's pretty handy. That is a difference. Again, I think I mentioned this the last time we did this on the show with the attachment processing or from here is it does not by default move the attachments. You have to decide if you want to move them. So that's why this action exists, because sometimes you don't want them and sometimes you actually want them in two places. So it is a difference from the inbound action scripting where the attachments got moved automatically to the target record.
I think this gives you a little more flexibility. You just have to remember it's there.
Yeah. That's the key, is you have to remember it's there.
I'm just thinking here, because we might move this attachment to a record that already has multiple attachments. So somehow we need to know in the next stage when we want to send the email, which attachment from the incident record we're going to attach. So perhaps we need to do something before we move it to actually know. Because when we move, it keeps the sysID, right? It's not like copy when it gets a new sysID in sysattachment. Or am I?
Yeah, I'm not actually sure on that functionality anymore. So the way it works with the inbound action scripting is it moves the attachment and so it changes its target from the sys email record to the new target record. I don't actually know what the guts of that action is doing.
Are you saying if it's copying or moving?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's copying or moving, and we want a record. We want to be able to put that attachment on a notification as well.
Oh, interesting.
So,
are there outputs of 2.2.2? I don't see them.
Give us the
nope. Just three dots.
I think we're gonna have to test it to find out for sure if it's a copy or a move. It's named move.
It's named moved, but if it was just a copy, then we would still have access to them on the sys email.
Right.
So let me see if I can find.
I think what we're going to have to do is insert a lookup attachments on the email record before we do the move to get the sysID of the attachment.
I'm just trying to do.
Goran, you
let's
are the
just-
second person I've seen with the list layout and form layout that have the field name on there too. What are you doing to do that? Is that
That is a Google Chrome plugin. That is
Yeah.
by
The
Arnaud.
service now, the service now util wherever.
is that
is.
Arnaud's stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I hadn't seen
You
that
can-
before.
You can go into a preference and turn it on.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's a
It's really
very
useful.
handy utility.
Yeah.
He is a gentleman and a scholar for providing that for our use.
He knows what we need.
He does know what developers need.
So let's take this one, and I'm trying to fake something. This is for, there we go. And I'll just save that one. And
I'm gonna put an attachment on there. There you go.
Yeah. Let's see which folder I end up in. Huh. So we have a screenshot.
Let's hope it's a decent screenshot.
Yeah.
Something you were buying on Amazon for.
So let's do it a test. And I always wonder is, do I need to save before I test?
I always do.
I always do, but I believe that hitting test does a save. But
Okay.
I like to know for sure, so I click save.
So let's see what happens. Oh, I don't even know what kind of user that will be fun. It's connecting to. Okay, it's completed.
Completed.
Yes, that extension is in the
Oh.
Chrome extension store, so you can look it up there.
Nice.
So let's go to take a look at this incident. If my screenshot,
Did your file get there?
yeah,
Yes. And there's two of
it's
them.
one of those. Of course. So it's two different because they're different time dates.
Oh, okay.
So it
Can
moved.
I?
Yay.
And what,
So we
let's go
moved
back
it.
to sys email.
Let's go to.
Refresh.
Yeah, if you refresh
Okay.
that record, we'll know whether or not it moved the attachment.
Oh, I clicked too fast, but we could see the email name there. But yeah, now it's gone. So we moved
Gone.
it.
So it is a move.
So it did
one.
move it. So we need to look up that attachment sys before we do the move.
Yeah.
And
So
then
we need
what?
to insert an action to do a
Oh, and
lookup for
then you can
attachment
copy it to
before
the
then.
attachment.
Then we know the sys. So
Then I can do a
somehow-
lookup or get or whatever I want to do with the attachment once I
Okay.
know it's sys
Okay.
But once it gets on the record, I can't do a lookup there because there may already. He told me the scenario was that there might already be attachments there, and we only want to send.
Exactly. The
The one
incident
that
can look
came-
like this.
yeah.
And we add a third attachment. And when we send a notification, we only want to send with that attachment that we moved over.
Okay. So when you do your lookup before you do the move,
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was just
We-
saying. Is we do the
Okay.
lookup before we do the move.
And we need to do the lookup
well,
on
is,
the
is
email.
that information part of the email record? If you expand your email record data pill. on
Okay.
Flow Designer.
I don't.
Yeah, I have no
Kind of
idea.
an attachment.
I don't know if attachment is a thing there.
I don't think so, since
That
we
seems
couldn't
like a
do
gap, doesn't it?
conditions on it.
Nope.
Okay.
Doesn't appear to be a
No.
data pill.
It's just magic that happens behind the scenes.
I love magic. When I control
Magic.
it. I hate magic that someone else controls.
So basically, then we would like to do a lookup on the sys attachment table
Or do you want to do that
Well,
before?
So
your-
do we want to do a lookup?
oh, you are doing it before the move.
Yeah.
Before we move.
Yeah.
and we want to. What do we know? What's that field called? Is it tape? Is that the
Well,
record?
The table name you can get from.
The table sys is the only thing
Yeah.
we care about.
No, you like
table-
the table name. You've got to get that from incident table on 2.2.1.
Do
Well,
we
the
need
sys
the
ID
table
is
name?
unique, so I don't actually care. I don't,
And
it'll
the
be a
table
little
name
more
should be-
performant to add the table name in there, but
the table name should be sys
just
email,
email.
right?
Right.
Since it's before.
Oh,
we
okay.
move.
You're right, because we haven't gotten to incident yet.
And the table sys ID should be the email record,
Sys ID.
Sys ID.
right? And we only want one.
Order
Done.
by. Okay, there was nothing else in there that we needed.
Yeah, no, it's just ordered by and if you
Return only
find
the
multiple-
first record. Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. What if there's more than one attachment?
Well, in my business case, there isn't.
Okay.
If there are, we're having issues anyway. So I guess because if there are multiple, I guess we just need to do a lookup records instead.
Right.
What are the choices under that drop down? If multiple records are found,
fail or.
Oh wow. Okay, you can fail.
Yeah.
So if you find more, that's probably the one I would do.
The lookup action is a very happy to fail action. If you find none, it fails. And you also have an option if you find multiple to fail.
Yeah.
Which is actually nice.
Yeah.
And then you do something with that information.
Yeah. Okay. What I would like to do in a flow is that if it fails, I would somehow like to create an incident from the flow with perhaps information.
Absolutely. I want a flow operations center that, flow event management that does things when my flows fail.
Yeah. I guess we need to create a flow on the flow context table. So if we get errors, we'll create incident of that or something.
Yeah.
That'll be next week.
Yeah, that's next week's problem.
So we got the incident, we got the attachment record, and now we're moving it over.
Yep. So now that, and we just tested that, so that works. So we can now process an inbound action and get the attachment on the target record. And so now we need to do the next step, which is your notification, right?
Yeah, and I was thinking of using this one, but I don't know if that works. I haven't looked so into it. So we have to send email, but my issue.
I don't know that. Does that one handle attachments?
That's a really good question.
It doesn't look like it does.
Yeah. And my other problem that I see right now is that I would like to send it to all the users that exist in a glide list.
That's fine.
Like the watch list.
So what we're going to do actually, so I like your scenario. What we're going to do is we're going to instead of using the send email here, we're either going, so you're going to get choices. You're either going to create an action to do what we want, or we're going to create an event, which we will then process with a different flow.
And then we need to send the attachment sysid, but that will just be double work, because then that flow would have a custom action to handle it anyway, right? Because that flow can't send the notification anyway.
I think what we're going to need to do in either of these cases is create an event and handle this with email scripting in the notification table. Because if we don't have a way to add attachments here, then we have to use a regular notification.
Yeah. And if you click the checkbox that says it can include attachments, it's going to get all of them. You want specific ones, so you have to use the event parameters.
Yeah.
I kind of like that because it keeps all of your email management in one place.
I actually don't like flows and things having email things in them. I want all the notifications to be in the notification table.
In the code table, yeah. I was just trying to go codeless, but
I love going codeless, but I also like all notifications to be in the notification table.
So Andrew, what's your theory on how to trigger the event from a flow? We don't have an action to trigger an event.
I mean, I have an action I use repeatedly for that. So
okay,
that's it. The simplest action you can create with a script is gs.create event, or not create event, but whatever event.
Yeah. Should we do a quick one?
Yeah, let's do it. We've got time. So we'll create a new action to create event. Yep.
And I'll skip all other stuff for today. Oh, look.
Don't create it in.
You already have one.
Ha! I have started looking. I had something in the back of my head.
Yeah.
But I don't. Yeah, I don't think I get so long.
You
I
didn't
just do
finish.
yeah. Well, let's continue this one, I guess. Let's just remove this stuff.
All right, so we're going to
Uh,
want the
just
input. So we
delete.
want to add in the input
The event, I
parameter
guess.
1, parameter 2.
Well, and event
I'll
name.
just, I'll just trash these ones and create
Yeah,
them.
event name, param 1, and param 2.
An event name could be a reference to the event list if you wanted to pick it, rather
It
than
could
letting a
be.
human type it.
That
Yeah.
is nice. I like that idea. I don't think I would have thought of that right
the
off the bat.
registry.
What's the?
I think it's event registration. That's it.
That was mandatory, and then of course we want to
Your
have
glide
First
record.
parameter and second parameter. You want these human readable.
yeah,
You don't want to send a glide record?
yeah, that as well. Okay, let's do the glide record first, since that's the second thing in the function anyway. So
Are you going to call it glide record? Or are you going to call it target record with a space between them? Because human readable.
He's got a point.
So what should we put that as?
That's a good question. How do you pass
so
a record
I
to an
think
action?
you're just going to have to be a GUI, a GUID. Do you have a GUID society choice? No. Say society. Yeah, there you go.
Society
Yeah,
GUID. Okay.
So what does that actually give me? Does that give me an object in the code later on, or what does it actually give me?
Sure. We'll use that to do a glide record lookup to get the record you want.
Okay, we need to do that in the script.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if you choose a reference, you have to actually pick which
The
table it
table.
is.
That's the
And
part that
that's
drives
not-
me nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I want a document ID.
I want a document ID too.
and it's better to use this one than string, because this one will only allow you to put in.
Right.
It does some kind of
it'll throw an
verification.
error if it's not of the right type. You can't put a data pill in there of the wrong type.
No. Parameter 1. Is that human readable?
I mean, it is. I'd use the word 1, but that's just that's pedantic at that point.
I knew he was going to say that. We've been working together too long.
Oh,
And you should always make the second word lowercase.
I'm never going to be the one showing off next time.
He's never coming back.
Never coming back.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
One and
Okay.
done.
So, and we don't want to make it more advanced, like if you want to have a schedule event. But let's keep it like this from the
Yeah,
start.
no, I mean, you could add that to you can add that when you have that requirement later.
Yeah. So now we have those 4. That's enough, right?
Yeah,
So we
and
like
we'll
to
create
have,
a script action that is. So actually, we're going to do a lookup record first before the script, right? If you need a actual
to get the
You need
object.
a glide record object, does it have to be a full object? I'm going to
I
check.
think
Yes, it
so,
does.
because otherwise you can't use the $sign brackets to fetch fields and stuff like that.
It is a glide record object. No if, ands, or maybes.
Okay, so we need to do a lookup record then.
The only exception is it could be a null. I've done that before.
Lookup
So
record.
basically we're
Forget that's
doing it the hard way. So we don't do the lookup in the script. We actually, it's nice.
Oh,
this
so we do
one-
need to pass the table as well.
Yeah.
Refrigerators.
So
And then
target records table.
And we should probably have target records ID.
And then we have that as a reference or a table name, I guess.
Yep.
And then we need to pull it up here.
We might want to rename target record because somebody might think they can drag a record data pill to that.
Like sysid.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're pretty much building a document.
We are building a document ID and document table.
So
Those are very
should-
useful functions.
We need to talk to Jake about a new action.
I mean, are we sure that
Why not?
that's not an input type already?
A record type? It's got to
No,
be.
the
I don't
input
think it's
type.
exposed, but it's got to be something because we have so many actions that take a record as a
Check
drop
the
back.
types. Is there a document ID?
There's a
Yeah, but you have a document ID, but that one only allows you to put in one because I've been messing around with that type.
Oh.
So you only still have the sysID in this field,
Oh, okay.
as I understand it at least. And you need to, yeah, this is the issue. Even if I says document ID,
Still
I need
have to pick the table.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
See,
So
we
this is
need a
pretty
record
much-
field. We need a record.
You know what?
field.
When I ran into that, you can pull that because I'm sneaky. You can go pull that out and not have that in there.
Yeah,
So
that
it
was
makes you
we
pick
talking
one,
about that.
but you can also remove it.
Yeah, that was the one we were talking about. That.
Oh, that was you and I. All right.
Yeah.
You
Trying
can
to
go
go
remove
around.
that. All right.
Yeah.
So let's delete that input and get on with our recreating document.
Yeah. So basically, we have this table and the condition. Look, I can't select the condition because it wants us to select a table so we can get the fields.
Oh, my
What?
Well,
goodness.
can I
Well, we don't
script
really
it?
need a condition, do we?
Can't
I
just
mean, we
have
do.
return?
We need a condition, which is look up this particular record.
No,
Can't
no,
I do it
no,
like
no.
this?
This is glide record encoded response. Example: active equals true. Short description starts with.
Yeah. FD underscore. There you go. Let's get the action inputs dot sysID. Yeah.
Should be able to do like that, right?
You should be able to.
SysID.
This would have been
This will
easier
be
with
fun.
just the script step.
It might have been a little easier with the script step because we
Yeah.
know how to do a lookup for glide record
Yeah.
No
objects.
kidding. Given those two parameters, a table and sysID, that's 2 lines of code, kids.
Yeah.
But hey, you got to play with those FD data parameters at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forget they're there sometimes. So
Yeah. And
it's
here
not very
I-
obvious that they're there.
So now we basically need all the same. So we need to have event name. We'll pull in that one.
I think someone said that there's
event-
a mistype with sys underscore ID somewhere, and I'm not sure.
probably in here.
I thought it auto-filled. Record under target record sysID.
Yeah. This seems to be the same thing as when you do, what is it,
Oh,
database
you got
use?
SYD underscore ID.
So yeah,
in quotes.
it's SYD
There you go.
way
Right
over
next to
on
your
the red stuff.
There we go. There we go.
Thank you, awesome person.
Yeah.
I did not catch
So-
that.
No.
So
That's
Yay.
why we have extra eyes.
So the event name is, and now it's returning a record where we basically just want to have what is called event name later on, which can be good to know. Or I'll just pull that one in because we don't need to have the whole event record, right?
Correct.
We only want to have the name.
Yep.
And then we need target. I'll just keep the same name, I guess.
Sure.
No, we don't need to have that. We just need.
No, we
target
don't need the
record.
table.
Yeah, we
we just
just-
need the target record.
we just need the
Your
record,
parameter.
There we
Bam.
go.
and then param 1 and param 2.
This is a good.
And now
exercise.
these you can do however you want because these are internal for
Yeah,
developers.
I don't dare
Dude,
to do that.
Do one is ONE and another one is the numeral 2, just to screw with them.
So let's remove that stuff.
Okay, so
All
this
right.
is just gs.eventqueue.
gs.eventqueue, and then we're off to the races. Drop in name, then drop in object, param 1 and param 2.
Inputs dot.
Inputs dot.
Oh, yeah. And I hate it autofills, but not with the correct ones. Only the ones you typed in before.
Yeah. I think everyone on this stream who's ever watched it has heard me complain about the script steps, inputs and outputs. So
Yes.
I'm not gonna do it more today.
We're gonna have a talk with
So-
Jake.
Input name, input target record per month. So that's pretty much it, right? And we don't even
And
need
your
to create an output, do we?
Nope.
I don't think it returns it.
We don't need to. It doesn't return anything, and so we don't need to
No.
return anything.
Mhm.
So we throw it out into the
All right,
ether
we got
and
5
hope that the
minutes.
world happens.
We can at least verify that the event gets triggered, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, let's just
and
do a
then
quick.
and then
quick
you
register.
know, the rest of it is pretty straightforward, which is
Drop it into your flow.
drop that action into the flow, and then we'll need to create a email script that grabs the attachment
Yeah.
and puts it on your notification. But you know how to do that. That's not new.
It's been around. So let's do a test. So the event name should be that one.
Good.
Target record table should be,
Incident.
let's see, we are
Oh, it's
exactly.
this email. No, it's this email.
Is it the sys email? Because
No, we want to use an incident here.
Oh, you're
Because
right.
we
Okay,
want-
because
yeah.
you're firing the
'Cause
event to create the email.
our
Yes.
notification
Okay.
wants to be on the incident
Yeah.
table with incident
Okay.
fields.
Parameter 1 was
yeah.
okay.
No, we won't send. We want to send a sys ID.
You
But
want
I
to send
can't-
the
Yeah,
table?
You can just put whatever you want in there. We just want to
Yeah.
see that the event fires.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. 2 and the target sys ID should be the instance sys ID, right?
Yes.
And we'll put that one in. Run test.
I thought you had those 2 parameters next to each other, the table name and the sys ID.
No, he added it later, so they
Oh,
weren't
okay.
next to each
I thought
other.
he moved them.
Yeah, move. Yeah,
Oh, I don't remember him moving.
Check it anyway.
Let's take a
That's
look
right.
at the event log just to see if something. Yeah, there we go.
Yay.
Yay! Prim
It
1,
works.
Prim
Take a
2,
drink.
incident. Take a drink.
Yeah. Cheers.
That's some victory right there.
I still want a record input.
All right, so now let's add that into our flow, and then basically the flow is complete. And the next thing is to build the notification, which you can do without us.
Can I?
Did you
I have
publish
faith
it?
in you.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
So the event name, and this I guess I need to hard code, right? Because it will always be the same. Target record. Should we use the data pill? We always know it's an incident, so I guess we can just select.
I mean, you have it right there. The data pills right there. 2.1.
What if the target record changes?
So, and
Okay.
the target sys-ID, we have that one from
In
2.1.
2.2.1 is the incident record sys ID.
And we really don't need.
Oh, no, you were looking for the sys ID of the attachment.
No, not the target sys-ID. That's the
Oh,
incident
the
sys-ID.
yeah.
So that one, and then we
Okay.
want the attachment
The
sys-ID.
attachment one there.
Oh,
And then
I
we
made
don't
that
need anything,
mandatory.
and all you
Oh,
did.
so put in hello world.
Hello.
Darn.
Darn. Darn.
It would have been a little more positive, like hooray.
Hooray.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
let's throw a test and we'll wrap up the show.
Let's see. I guess we need to find the email and just attach something.
Not a screenshot. Not a screenshot.
Yeah, we love screenshots.
185203. I'm remembering that number.
And let's make sure. I'll just go in and do like this as well. What? Shouldn't? Ah,
What are you
here we
looking
go.
for?
Yeah, I just remove so we know that
Okay.
we don't have
Yeah,
it.
oh, that's
already.
true. 185203 was already on there.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that if you try to move that same attachment again, it won't
Yep.
move that.
Yeah, it'll get angry at you.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm already over there, buddy.
Yeah.
So let's do a test then. This is for incident.
It's running a decent amount of time. And
Seems
complete. Our action didn't bail out on us.
Refresh the incident.
We have
Ha
the
ha ha,
attachment.
attachment.
We
Now
have
we check for
attachment
our
there.
event.
And here it is with the
Darn.
Okay, we
Look
have
at
a
it.
sys ID in a
Yeah.
table.
And we have Darn.
Okay, is
We
that
have
the right
darn.
SysID?
Yeah, let's take a look.
That should
Go
be
to
the
sys
attachment
attachment.
SysID.
Right.
Yeah. Oh.
Ooh.
And we want to
Let's
sort
see.
by updated. There's screenshot 185203.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yay.
great right now. Yeah, it works.
All kinds of
All
success.
right.
Yeah.
Let us stop share and
Turn camera back on.
turn camera back on.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah,
That was fantastic.
it's working.
So I think we covered most of all of the gotchas I've run into with attachments and events and email for flows. That was a whole lot of gotchas that we covered nicely there, and almost on time even. Like
I think one thing though is that when we run test, it actually runs as us, not the user on the record.
Yes, you're right.
So
we'll need
it
to
might
test
feel
that.
like, way. Yeah. But we can do that in another show.
Yeah, we can. So that was really wonderful. If you don't have your instances to New York yet, and you can't actually play with these in your real instances, obviously you can use the personal developer instances that you get from developer.servicenow.com.
Ding.
Ding. And well, that was a lot of fun. We got to play with the data pills. We got to use inline scripting. We got to do inbound email processing. We built an action. We used an existing action that you had built previously. That was a whole bunch of coverage. Like that was good.
That's good.
That was a lot of fun. And thank you for being able to hop in, Chuck.
Thank you. Sorry I was late, but glad we could.
I feel left out. I forgot to put. I planned to put on my Santa hat.
Yeah,
and I didn't because of the time. I was actually futzing with a logo, so I updated our transition logo to be the current branding.
I understand.
Messing with that, and it took longer than I wanted. Because all things with graphics take longer than you want them to.
Yeah.
I'm like, can I not just black out this section real easy and put the new thing on there? You can. It just takes longer than you want it to. So that was great. So let's go around the horn and rate our drinks as usual. Go on, you first, sir.
Should I start? Yeah, this Snowfall, it was really good actually. It didn't taste like ginger that it says, but it was good. So kind of disappointing since it's Christmas, but I mean, it was a good beer.
Rating out of 5?
4.
Huh? Okay.
Right. 4 is pretty good. And Chuck, you said you were drinking sake.
It's all gone.
Christmas sake.
Yeah. Isn't that what you hang above the fireplace so Santa fills it with toys? The Christmas sake? Hey, I'm here till Thursday. Try the veal. I will give this a 4.5. It was very tasty. I wish I could with the brand, but I can't. So no endorsement. That's
pretty great. So my Anchor Brewing, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, which is hilarious, was pretty good. It's a solid 4. Like it got a little successful bonus bump on it, but it's a 4. So I liked it. So that was great. So we appreciate you joining us today for the first time. That was a lot of fun.
Yes.
I hope everyone has a most wonderful holiday. I think we've covered all of the questions. Is there anything else you gentlemen want to share before we adjourn?
You can go pick up a copy of No Code Apps for Dummies for your friends who don't do a whole lot of code in ServiceNow.
That's a good Christmas present.
That is. This
it's free.
Do you have one of your books handy?
No, actually not.
Or get Podcasting for Dummies if you want to start a video.
We're plugging books here. Why don't we plug all the books? What's the name of yours?
Mine?
Yeah.
The Witch Doctor's Guide to ServiceNow.
There you go. So 2 out of 3 guessed like those books. That's awesome. Well, as always, come visit us. Get to the blog. get your personal developer instance, check out the APIs. I was using the API documentation while we were on the call just to make sure. I've used, gs.eventqueue, I don't know, 1,000 times at least now.
Yeah.
I still go look at the documentation to make sure I do it right because, well, that's just what I do. I also copy paste all the names of things because I don't want to type them wrong. My spelling errors propagate.
And sometimes
I don't
they
have
don't
problems.
show up for months. You might not hit that piece of code for a while.
Yeah.
I don't have problems with spelling errors because I just copy the variable name.
Yeah.
I don't actually care what it is.
Love the shirt, Goran.
Oh,
Thank you.
I just got my Oktoberfest shirt this week. It finally
nice
showed
one.
up. So I
It's
wore it
Christmas
today.
present.
It was a great
That's
Christmas
awesome.
present. I thought it was something I had ordered from Amazon, but it was finally my Oktoberfest shirt.
That's
I
great.
think I'm one of the last people to get it. So that was wonderful. Thank you both for coming. Thank you, Goran, for driving us through today. And I believe that I will do one final show next week if our guest agrees to the timing. And otherwise, if we don't, have a most wonderful end of the year, everyone who's watching.
Yes.
And we will see you next year if I don't see you next Friday. And we'll start our gear up process for the knowledge season because January is basically when we get started. We
And
have
Orlando.
our call.
Yeah,
We have
Orlando is
Orlando
first.
coming out in Q1, as well as right now. If you would like to give a talk at Knowledge, the call for
content.
speakers is open. So please go submit that. If you want to, have a look at your title and your description, drop on into the ServiceNow Slack and send us a message, and people will give you feedback on it before you submit it for review. And with that, happy holidays. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
Happy holidays.